The Instagram notification lit up my phone. Live from the Airbnb is live. Cutest vintage bedroom ever. I clicked it before I could stop myself, watching a stranger twirl in what used to be my room. My books were gone, my Polaroids, my entire childhood, replaced by farmhouse chic decor and a family of four unpacking their suitcases onto my old quilted bed. I'm Nora, and this is how I learned I'd been erased from my own home. 3 hours earlier, I'd pulled into our driveway after a grueling finals week, expecting the usual cold shoulder from Mom, but at least a bed to sleep in. Instead, I found an SUV with Ohio plates and my mother's practiced smile, the one she usually reserved for church gatherings and PTA meetings. "Nora, sweetheart, why didn't you call first?" Her voice carried that artificial sweetness that always meant trouble. I hefted my duffel bag. My finals finished early. Thought I'd surprise you. "Well, this is inconvenient." She glanced nervously at the house. "We have guests." "Guests? In my room?" "The Airbnb guests. They're here for the week." She said it like she was telling me we were having pasta for dinner. Casual, matter of fact. "Your father and I had to make some adjustments after Tyron's known situation." My brother's name hit like a punch to the gut. Tyron, the golden child, who'd gambled away $80,000 at some underground casino and expected the family to clean up his mess. Again. Where am I supposed to sleep? "The basement has a cot." She wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's temporary, dear. We all need to support the family right now." I stood there, keys digging into my palm. "You rented out my room without telling me?" "It was a family emergency." Her voice hardened. Tyron needed help. "And where is he sleeping?" "In his room, of course. He needs stability right now." "Of course. Heaven forbid the prodigal son sleep next to the water heater." I shouldered past her into the house, nearly colliding with a cheerful woman in yoga pants. "Oh, you must be the daughter," she beamed. "Your mom's told us so much about this being your old room. It's absolutely adorable." I couldn't speak. Through the open door, I saw my walls, once covered in science fair ribbons and acceptance letters, now decorated with generic inspirational quotes and fairy lights. A Live, Laugh, Love sign hung where my MIT acceptance letter used to be. "The basement's through there," Mom pointed, already turning to the guest. "Karen, let me show you where the extra towels are." The basement smelled like mildew and dog food. A military-style cot sat between boxes of Christmas decorations and old tax returns. My brother's gaming chair was stored down here too, pristine in its dust cover. Protected. Unlike my memories, which apparently had a price tag. I made the cot hands shaking. Above, I could hear footsteps. Strangers walking across my floorboards, probably taking selfies in front of my window seat. The window seat where I'd studied for the SATs, dreamed of escape, and cried when Dad lost his job senior year. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyron. "Heard you're home. Don't make drama about the room thing. Mom and Dad are doing their best." Their best? Right. I opened my laptop and checked my bank account. $2,473.89. Not enough for an apartment, but enough for a few weeks at the Extended Stay America off Route 9. I started packing. "Nora?" Dad's voice from the stairs. "Your mother says you're upset." "Upset?" I laughed, but it came out wrong. Why would I be upset that my room's being rented to strangers while Tyron gets to keep his? He's going through a rough patch. When isn't he? Dad sighed that heavy sigh he always used when he wanted to end a conversation. "We're all making sacrifices." "No, Dad. You and Mom are sacrificing me. There's a difference." I grabbed my bags and headed for the stairs. He didn't try to stop me. Mom caught me at the front door. "Where are you going?" "To support the family," I said, voice dripping acid, "by getting out of the way." "Don't be dramatic. It's just a room." I turned to face her. It was my room, my space, my home. But you know what? Keep it. Keep the Airbnb money. Keep enabling Tyron. I'm done. That night, I parked behind the 24-hour Walmart and reclined my seat as far as it would go. My phone kept lighting up with texts from Mom, each one more guilt-trippy than the last. I blocked her number. The Instagram Live was still going. The family's teenage daughter was showing off her vintage vanity. My vanity, where I'd gotten ready for prom, where I'd practiced my valedictorian speech. "This is so aesthetic," she squealed. I closed the app and opened my banking app instead. Transferred every penny I had into a new account at a different bank. Then I opened my course catalog and switched my minor from art history to computer science. If they wanted to erase me, fine. I'd rebuild myself into someone they couldn't ignore, someone they'd regret undervaluing, someone who'd make them pay. 12 years can change everything and nothing at all. The house next door to my parents still had that hideous yellow paint, though now it was peeling. The realtor's sign in the front yard read, "Reduced price, motivated seller," in desperate red letters. "You sure about this?" Athena asked, her Tesla idling in the street. "There are nicer neighborhoods." I smiled, watching the delivery truck pull up with my new security system. "This one's perfect." Perfect because my parents' Airbnb business was flourishing. Perfect because Tyron still lived at home. Perfect because they had no idea their prodigal daughter was now worth 8 figures after selling her logistics AI startup. "The cameras go there, and there," I directed the installation team, pointing to strategic spots that would capture every inch of my parents' property. "Make sure they're visible. I want them to know they're being watched." Athena shook her head. "Remind me never to cross you." The next week, I hosted my first tech entrepreneur networking event. 100 of the most influential people in the industry, all in my backyard. Music just loud enough to be annoying, but not enough to justify a noise complaint. Fairy lights everywhere, the expensive kind that made everything look Instagram-worthy. "Your neighbors must love these parties," said Fabian, a real estate agent I'd met through the local business network. He was watching my parents' house, where curtains twitched every few minutes. "Haven't met them," I lied smoothly. "They run some kind of hotel business, I think." "Ah, Airbnb hosts." He rolled his eyes. "Half of them are running illegal operations. No permits, no safety inspections." I sipped my sparkling water. "Really? How interesting." The party went late. As guests left, their Ubers and Teslas clogged the narrow street. I stood on my porch, watching my mother's silhouette pace behind her kitchen window. She hadn't recognized me yet, amazing what different clothes and a decade of success could do. At 3 a.m., movement on my security feed caught my attention. Tyron, sneaking out the back door. He was limping, holding his side like it hurt. In the infrared camera's glow, I could see bruising around his eye. I zoomed in, frowning. This wasn't the first time I'd seen him injured. Last week, it was a split lip. Before that, scraped knuckles. My phone buzzed, a notification from the neighborhood app. Someone complaining about my parties. The username made me smile. Proud Momo F2. Mom always did love that screen name. I typed a response. "So sorry for any inconvenience. Just trying to build community spirit. Speaking of which, does anyone know if the yellow house next door is properly licensed for short-term rentals? Asking for insurance purposes?" The responses rolled in immediately. Other neighbors had been wondering the same thing. Someone tagged the city council's account. Perfect. The next morning, I had my assistant schedule daily deliveries. Everything from furniture to groceries, all arriving at different times. The trucks would block their driveway, forcing Airbnb guests to park on the street. "Your 9 a.m. is here," my home's AI system announced. I opened the door to find my mother standing there, perfectly coiffed but with shadows under her eyes. She didn't recognize me at first, her practiced smile frozen as she extended a plate of cookies. "Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm Samantha from next door." I let the silence stretch until her smile cracked slightly. "Mom," I said finally. You look well. The cookie plate nearly dropped. Nora? But how? Money, I said simply. Lots of it. Amazing what you can accomplish when you're not enabling someone else's addiction. Her face hardened. If you've come to cause trouble. Trouble? I'm just being a good neighbor, having friends over, supporting the local economy. I glanced at her house. How's the Airbnb business? Must be doing well, since you never sold my room back. Your brother is still living at home, still gambling? Or has he found new ways to disappoint you? She straightened her spine. You don't understand our situation. No, I understood perfectly 12 years ago. Nothing's changed except now I have the power to do something about it. A delivery truck honked, trying to navigate around an Airbnb guest's car. Mom flinched. The cookies look lovely, I said, not taking the plate. But I'm gluten-free now. Success does that to you. I closed the door on her shocked face and watched through my security feed as she walked back, shoulders stiff. As she reached her porch, Tyron emerged from the side of the house. They spoke briefly, him gesturing angrily, her shaking her head. He looked up directly at my camera, and for a moment, I saw something in his eyes that wasn't anger. Was it relief? My phone buzzed, a text from Fabian. City Inspector's office just received an anonymous complaint about unpermitted short-term rentals in your area. Interesting timing. I smiled, watching another delivery truck pull up. This was just the beginning. They thought they'd erase me, replace me with paying guests and pretty decor. But I learned something they hadn't. Silence builds the strongest weapons, and I'd had 12 years to perfect mine. Through my window, I watched Tyron limp back inside, and for the first time, I wondered what other secrets that house held besides mine. Your parents' Airbnb listing has 400 reviews, Fabian said, scrolling through his phone. We were sitting in my home office, surrounded by screens showing various security camera feeds. That's impressive for an unlicensed operation. I leaned back in my chair. Show me the reviews. Mostly positive. Charming vintage room. Lovely hosts. Quaint neighborhood vibes. He paused. Though there's been an uptick in noise complaints recently. How unfortunate, I said, watching a delivery truck block their driveway for the third time that day. Fabian gave me a knowing look. You know, as a real estate agent, I should probably discourage whatever psychological warfare you're waging. But as someone who's dealt with entitled Airbnb hosts, he grinned, I might have some suggestions. Over the next hour, Fabian walked me through the intricacies of short-term rental regulations. Every violation I could report, every review platform I could infiltrate. He even showed me how to track their booking calendar, to time my loudest parties for their check-in days. That's not the first time I've seen bruises on your brother, he said suddenly, nodding toward my security feed. Tyron was in their backyard smoking. His eye was still swollen. He probably deserved it, I said automatically, but something in my stomach twisted. Maybe. A commotion outside interrupted us. Through the cameras, we watched a young woman with pink hair setting up a ring light on the sidewalk between our houses. Is that Paisley Kent? Fabian asked. The TikTok influencer? Who? He pulled up her profile. Millions of followers, known for documenting neighborhood drama and property disputes. She was already recording, gesturing dramatically between my house and my parents. Should we stop her? Fabian asked. I smiled. No, let her film. The next morning, Paisley's video had gone viral. Rich tech CEO moves next door to parents who kicked her out. The comments were flooded with people taking sides, sharing their own family estrangement stories. My mother wasn't pleased. I watched through the cameras as she tried to confront Paisley, who just kept filming. This is private property, Mom's voice carried through my outdoor microphones. Actually, this is a public sidewalk, Paisley replied cheerfully. And your Airbnb business is public information. Speaking of which, do you have a permit for that? Mom retreated inside. Minutes later, their latest guests wheeled their suitcases out, phones raised to record everything. The comments would be brutal. Your next party's going to be interesting, Fabian said, scrolling through the video's engagement metrics. Half the internet wants an invitation. I was about to respond when movement on camera 3 caught my eye. Tyron, arguing with someone in a car parked down the street. The driver's face was hidden, but I could see Tyron's hands shaking as he passed something through the window. Freeze that frame, Fabian said sharply. Back up 10 seconds. I did. The car's license plate came into view. Fabian's expression darkened. I know that car. It belongs to Marcus, local loan shark. Bad news. Loan shark? My chest tightened. Tyron's gambling again? Or paying old debts? Fabian touched my arm gently. Nora, those bruises. Loan sharks don't send polite payment reminders. I watched the car drive away, leaving Tyron standing there, shoulders slumped. For a moment, he looked exactly like he had 12 years ago. Scared, desperate, trapped. I don't care, I said, but my voice wavered. He made his choices. Did he? Or did your parents make them for him? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A new review on my parents' Airbnb listing, posted by their recently departed guests. Lovely room, but drama. Host family clearly has issues. Daughter next door throws parties just to spite them. We love it, though. Brother seems sketchy. Saw him making suspicious exchanges. Don't feel safe. 2 5 stars. Within hours, 3 upcoming bookings canceled. Your revenge is working, Fabian said quietly. But are you sure it's aimed at the right people? I turned off the security feeds. You don't know what they did to me. No, but I see what's happening now. Your brother's in trouble. Your parents are losing income. And He gestured at my wall of screens. You're watching it all burn from your surveillance throne. They deserve it. Maybe. But revenge doesn't usually look like what we expect. He stood to leave. Just watch those security feeds carefully. You might see things you didn't plan on seeing. After he left, I pulled up the footage of Tyron and the loan shark, played it again, noticed how my brother's hands shook, how he kept looking over his shoulder, not at his house, but at mine, like he was hoping I was watching, like he was trying to tell me something. My phone buzzed again. Another notification. Proud Momov 2 has reported your property for excessive noise and suspicious activity. I smiled despite myself. Some things never changed. But as I watched Tyron disappear back into that house, our house, I wondered what else had changed that I didn't know about yet. The city inspector arrived at 8 a.m. sharp, clipboard in hand. I watched through my cameras as my mother greeted him with her usual forced cheerfulness. Anonymous complaint, he said, holding up his tablet. Multiple violations reported. No permit for short-term rentals, possible code violations, unauthorized business operation in a residential zone. Mom's smile cracked. There must be some mistake. Ma'am, your Airbnb listing is public. Over 400 reviews. He stepped past her. I'll need to inspect the property. I sipped my coffee, watching the scene unfold on my wall of screens. The inspector found everything my anonymous tip had suggested. Outdated wiring, questionable plumbing, no fire escape from the upper floor. My old bedroom. My phone buzzed. A text from Athena. You watching the inspection live stream? Your mom's going viral again. I switched feeds to see Paisley recording from across the street, narrating dramatically. Day 7 of Rich Daughter versus Airbnb Parents. The Health Inspector Saga. The comments rolled in real time. That house looks so unsafe. Can't believe they kicked out their daughter for this. Someone call Gordon Ramsay. This is Hotel Hell material. A knock at my door interrupted my viewing. Dad stood there looking older than I remembered. Nora, he said quietly, we need to talk. I left him standing on the porch. So talk. This has to stop. The parties, the deliveries, the inspectors. Your mother's beside herself. Funny how she's only beside herself when it affects her income. Were your parents? No, I cut him off. You're Tyron's parents. I'm just the spare room you monetized. His face fell. That's not fair. Neither was making me sleep in the basement while protecting his gambling habit. Neither is watching him get beaten up by loan sharks while you pretend everything's fine. Dad's head snapped up. What did you say about loan sharks? Don't pretend you haven't noticed his bruises. Or is that another thing we're not talking about? Before he could respond, shouting erupted from next door. The inspector had found something in the basement. Through my security feed, I could see water pooling around the water heater, mold climbing the walls, the same walls I'd stared at for those few nights before I left. This is an immediate health hazard, the inspector declared. I'm shutting this operation down until these violations are addressed. Mom's voice carried across the yard. But we have guests arriving today. Not anymore, you don't. I turned back to Dad. Looks like you have bigger problems than my parties. Nora, please. His voice cracked. Whatever you're doing, we can't afford the repairs. We'll lose the house. Like I lost my home? You don't understand. No, you don't understand. I stepped closer. I built myself from nothing after you chose him over me. I slept in my car, worked 3 jobs, earned my degree, and now you want mercy? A car door slammed. Through the cameras, I watched Tyron hurry toward the house, then freeze at the sight of the inspector's van. Dad followed my gaze. Your brother, he's trying. He's been clean for months. Clean? Is that what you call making payments to loan sharks? Something flickered across Dad's face. Fear? Recognition? But before he could respond, a new commotion erupted. One of the scheduled Airbnb guests, Kimberly, had arrived despite the shutdown. She was live streaming the whole thing. Paid $300 a night for this health hazard. Look at this mold. And the owners? They kicked out their own daughter to run this illegal hotel for their gambling addict son, who still lives here. Mom tried to intervene, but Kimberly was on a roll. This place is a shrine to toxic parenting. I'm calling my lawyer and my followers. Everyone needs to know about this shame show. The video was already gaining traction. Airbnb parents was trending. Dad watched helplessly as their carefully maintained facade crumbled in real time. Happy now? He asked quietly. I looked at my screens, at Mom trying to damage control, at Kimberly's righteous anger, at Tyron standing frozen on the sidewalk. All the pieces of my revenge falling perfectly into place. So why didn't it feel like victory? You should go, I said. You have an inspection to fail. He turned to leave, then paused. Whatever you think of us, watch out for your brother. Please. Why? You never watched out for me. No, he said softly. We didn't. And maybe that's why He shook his head. Just watch the cameras, Nora. You might see what we were too blind to see. I watched him walk away, shoulders hunched under the weight of everything crumbling around him. Through the feeds, I could hear Mom arguing with the inspector, see Paisley documenting everything, watch Tyron slip away unnoticed. My phone buzzed with another notification. Trending. Bar Airbnb parents expose reveals dark side of family-run rentals. I'd wanted them to pay. Wanted them to feel as exposed and vulnerable as I had. But Dad's words echoed. Watch the cameras. What wasn't I seeing? The drone footage was grainy, but the audio was crystal clear. I'd launched it during another networking event, hoping to catch more ammunition for my campaign. Instead, I caught something else entirely. We should have sent Tyron to rehab instead of selling Nora's room. Mom's voice crackled through my speakers. She was in their backyard, arguing with Dad. He's just like your brother, Stuart. The same patterns, the same demons. I rewound the footage, played it again. My father's brother? The one we never talked about? Your Uncle James, Athena read from her laptop, scrolling through public records. Died 15 years ago. Cause of death. Gambling-related suicide. The pieces started clicking. Dad's strange warning. The way he always avoided casino billboards. How he'd flinch when Tyron came home late. There's more, Athena said. Your dad's family had a history of addiction. His father, his brother. It runs deep. My security system pinged. Movement in my parents' backyard. Tyron, pacing, on his phone. I told you I'd get the money, he was saying. Just give me until Friday. No, don't, please. The call ended. He slumped against the fence, hands shaking as he lit a cigarette. In the infrared camera's glow, his bruises looked almost black. My doorbell rang. Fabian stood there with a stack of papers. Found something interesting in the county records, he said, spreading documents across my kitchen counter. Your parents' house was almost foreclosed on 12 years ago, right around when you left. The gambling debt, I said. No. He pointed to a highlighted section. This was before that. There was a fraud investigation at your dad's workplace. Someone had been stealing money, small amounts over time. They traced it to your family's account. My stomach dropped. Tyron? The investigation was dropped suddenly. No charges filed. Fabian looked at me carefully. The timing matches when your brother started having gambling problems. A memory surfaced. Me, 18, desperate for college money after Dad lost his job. The company's accounting system had seemed so simple. Watch the cameras, Dad had said. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Back door now. Through my security feed, I saw Tyron standing at my back gate. I met him there. Up close, his bruises looked worse. You need to stop, he said, without preamble. Or what? You'll gamble away my room again? You don't understand what you're doing, what you're risking. Enlighten me. He glanced at my cameras. Turn them off. No. Fine. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I remembered from childhood. Remember when Dad lost his job? When you needed money for MIT? My heart stopped. How did you? Because I covered for you, Nora. The company knew someone was stealing. They were close to proving it was you. So He swallowed hard. I started going to casinos, made it look like I had a problem, like any missing money was me gambling it away. You're lying. Mom and Dad bought it because it fit their fears. Dad's family history, the addiction genes. Better their son be a gambling addict than their daughter be a thief. My legs felt weak. The $80,000 was real. By then I actually was gambling. Funny how pretending to have a problem can give you one. He laughed bitterly. But that first $20,000, that was protecting you. I don't believe you. Check your old journals, the ones in the basement. You wrote about it. About the company's accounting system? About taking loans you'd pay back later. My security system pinged. The demolition crew I'd hired was starting work on my parents' basement tomorrow. Why are you telling me this now? Because your revenge campaign is bringing attention we can't afford. Those loan sharks? They're not after gambling debts. They're after information. About the fraud. About all of it. A car drove by slowly. The same one from before. Tyron stiffened. Just stop digging, he said quietly. Before you expose things that'll hurt more than just Mom and Dad. He walked away, leaving me standing there as pieces of my carefully constructed revenge narrative crumbled around me. Inside, I pulled up the basement camera feed. There, behind the water heater, was a box of my old things, my journals. The truth was there, waiting in my own handwriting. My phone buzzed. A notification from the drone. Mom and Dad arguing again. We should have told her, Dad was saying. About James, about the addiction patterns, about why we were so scared for Tyron. And risk her finding out what really happened with the company money? Mom shot back. No, better she hate us for the room than. The audio cut out as they went inside. I stared at my wall of screens, at all the surveillance equipment I'd bought to expose their secrets, never imagining the biggest secret might be mine. The neighborhood beautification fundraiser was in full swing. My backyard buzzed with local influencers, real estate agents, and carefully selected Airbnb guests from my parents' past. Everyone who'd ever left them a bad review had received a personal invitation. Ready for the announcement? Fabian asked, adjusting his tie. I glanced at my phone, where my old journal entry glowed accusingly. Borrowed another $500 from the accounting system today, just until financial aid comes through. Nora? I switched off the phone. Let's do this. My parents stood awkwardly near the refreshment table, invited through a neighborhood association email they couldn't decline without seeming antisocial. Mom wore her church smile. Dad looked like he wanted to disappear. Tyron wasn't there. He hadn't come home last night. My cameras confirmed it. Welcome, everyone. I took the small stage we'd set up. I'm so glad you could join me in discussing the future of our beautiful neighborhood. The crowd quieted. Several phones raised to record. As many of you know, property values in this area have been affected by certain unofficial business operations. I smiled directly at my mother. Unlicensed rentals, code violations, that sort of thing. Mom's church smile cracked slightly. So today, I'm announcing my intention to purchase and renovate the problem properties. I pulled up a PowerPoint slide showing their house. Starting with this one, I'm offering $20,000 below market value, just to help the current owners move on to something more legitimate. The crowd murmured. Someone snickered. Paisley's ring light clicked on. You can't do this. Mom stepped forward, voice shaking. That's our home. Was our home, I corrected, before you turned it into a business. A failing business, according to recent inspections. Nora, please. Dad's voice cracked. Not like this. No? How should it be then? Should I sleep in the basement while we discuss terms? Or maybe we could list my current house on Airbnb, since that's your solution to everything. You don't understand, Mom started. I understand perfectly. I understand how you chose Tyron over me, how you protected him while erasing me, how you protected you. The words burst from Mom like she couldn't contain them anymore. The crowd went silent. What? We protected you. When the company was investigating, when they were close to pressing charges, tears streaked her perfect makeup. We had to make a choice. My heart pounded. Stop. Your brother came to us, said he'd take the blame, make it look like gambling. The company would drop the investigation if they thought the money went to casinos instead of. She looked around at the recording phones. Instead of elsewhere. Mom, I warned. We thought if Tyron took the fall, you could keep your scholarship, your future. The gambling story would stay in the family, but fraud charges would have followed you forever. The crowd was dead silent now. Phones still recorded everything. So we committed, Dad said quietly, to the story, to protecting you both. You from charges, him from loan sharks. We just didn't expect me to hate you. My voice sounded strange in my ears. Didn't expect your little cover story to turn into a real addiction. We didn't expect any of it, Mom whispered. The loans he had to take to maintain the lie, the people he got involved with. By the time we realized how deep he was. That's why you kept him close, I said. Why you let him stay. Dad nodded. We couldn't protect you anymore. You were gone, but we could try to protect him. My carefully orchestrated humiliation was unraveling. The crowd watched like it was a tennis match, phones capturing every word. Your brother, Mom said, has been paying for your mistake for 12 years, and now you're here, in your expensive house, with your successful career, the career our sacrifice made possible, trying to destroy what's left of our family. The words hit like physical blows. Behind her, I saw a familiar car drive by slowly. The loan shark's car. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyron. Had to run. They're asking questions about the old fraud. Don't let Mom and Dad talk to anyone. Too late. I looked at the crowd, at their recording phones, at my parents' tears. I think that's enough for today. Thank you all for coming. People lingered, hungry for more drama, but Fabian and Athena smoothly began herding them out. Soon only my parents remained. Where's Tyron? Dad asked. Gone, I said, because of what I did, because I couldn't let go of a revenge that, I swallowed hard, that I might not have deserved. Nora, Mom stepped forward, reaching out, but I backed away. Don't. Just go home. Lock your doors. Don't talk to anyone about what was said here. Why? Because some debts. I thought of Tyron's bruises, of loan sharks circling our family's secrets. Some debts don't stay buried. They left quietly. I watched them through my cameras, walking slowly back to their house, back to the life they'd built on lies meant to protect me. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number. Got your brother. Want to talk about old company business? The revenge I'd planned had worked perfectly, just not the way I'd intended. 3 days. Tyron had been missing for 3 days. My security cameras caught nothing but shadows and silence from next door. Mom's perfect garden wilted. Dad's car hadn't moved. The text messages kept coming. Ready to talk about that company money? Your brother's very cooperative. TikTok. I sat in my surveillance room watching old footage. Tyron sneaking out. The bruises, the hushed conversations, all the signs I'd misread as guilt when they were really sacrifice. My doorbell rang. Dad stood there, looking like he hadn't slept in days. The police won't help, he said, walking past me. Missing persons report requires 48 hours, and we can't tell them about the loan sharks without explaining why. Without explaining what I did, I finished. He sank into my couch. Marcus called. Wants $50,000 by midnight or he starts breaking fingers. Marcus? The loan shark. The one Tyron's been paying to keep quiet about the fraud. About you. My security system pinged. A car pulling up next door. Through the cameras, I watched Mom rush out to meet a severe-looking woman in a business suit. Who's that? Dad's face went pale. Real estate agent. Your mother's... She's listing the house. What? Why? It's all we have left to sell. The Airbnb shut down. Our savings went to Tyron's previous payments. He looked at me. We have to get him back. My phone buzzed. A live stream notification. Selling the viral Airbnb house. Inside tour with exclusive drama details. Mom was leading the agent through their house, my old house, pointing out features with trembling hands. The comments rolled in. Karma for what they did to their daughter. Serves them right. That family is so toxic. They had no idea. I'd fed them a story of villainous parents and a golden child brother, when the truth was, I have the money, I said quietly. Dad looked up sharply. I have it. More than enough. I pulled up my banking app. I'll transfer it now. Nora, no, we can't let you. I did this. I cut him off. My theft, my revenge plan, my stupid need to make you all pay for protecting me. I laughed bitterly. I really showed you, didn't I? My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Nora. Marcus's voice was surprisingly pleasant. Ready to discuss old debts? Where's my brother? Safe. For now, bring $50,000 to the abandoned factory on River Street. 1 hour. Come alone. I'll need proof he's alive. A photo appeared on my phone. Tyron, tied to a chair, bruised but conscious. He was holding today's newspaper. 1 hour, Marcus repeated, and hung up. Dad started to speak, but I held up my hand, pulled up my security feeds, rewound through days of footage until, there, Tyron talking to Marcus in the car. But from this angle, I could see something I'd missed before. Tyron was holding his phone down, screen facing the car's underside. He was recording, I whispered. Every meeting, every payment. He was gathering evidence. I switched to my cloud backup. Dozens of audio files from my directional microphones, capturing conversations between Tyron and Marcus. Proof of extortion, of threats, of everything. Call the police, I told Dad. Tell them everything. About the fraud, about me, about Tyron. I'll send them the recordings. But your career is built on stolen money. Maybe it's time I paid for that. I grabbed my keys. I'm going to the factory. Nora, wait. But I was already moving. In my rearview mirror, I saw Mom standing in their driveway, watching me drive away. The real estate agent was still inside, probably filming everything for her social media. Let her. Let them all see. My phone buzzed with notifications. Breaking. Tech CEO confesses to fraud. Viral Airbnb family saga takes dark turn. Missing brother found in factory raid. The last one was from an hour in the future. I smiled grimly and pressed the accelerator. At the factory, Marcus waited with two thugs. Tyron sat between them, eyes swollen shut. The money? Marcus asked. I held up my phone. Better. Every conversation you've had with my brother for the past year. Every threat, every payment. Currently uploading to police servers. You're bluffing. Check Twitter. My confession's already trending. The police are on their way with enough evidence to bury all of us. I stepped forward. So here's the deal. Let him go. We all go down together. Keep him. You go down alone. Marcus's face hardened. You'd risk prison? For the brother who went to prison in his mind for 12 years to protect me? I met Tyron's good eye. Yes, sirens wailed in the distance. Your choice, Marcus, but make it fast. He nodded to his men. They cut Tyron loose. As police cars surrounded the building, as reporters gathered outside, as my carefully built life crumbled around me, Tyron gripped my arm. You didn't have to, he whispered. Yes, I said, watching Marcus raise his hands in surrender. I did. Sometimes revenge looks exactly like redemption. The judge's gavel echoed through the courtroom. Given the defendant's cooperation and voluntary confession, I'm sentencing Ms. Montgomery to 2 years probation and full restitution of the stolen funds. I exhaled. No jail time. Just a massive fine, a damaged reputation, and a viral story that would follow me forever. Fair enough. Marcus and his crew weren't so lucky. The evidence Tyron gathered sent them away for a long time. My brother sat in the back of the courtroom, still sporting fading bruises, nodding slightly as the sentences were read. Outside, reporters swarmed. Paisley's ring light bobbed above the crowd. How does it feel to be the villain of your own revenge story? Someone shouted. Actually, Tyron stepped forward, she's not the villain. None of us are. We're just a family who tried to protect each other in all the wrong ways. Mom and Dad stood awkwardly to the side. The house sale had fallen through after everything went public. They were stuck with a decaying property, no Airbnb income, and a mountain of debt. I'll pay it, I told them. All of it. The restitution, the loans, everything. We can't accept, Mom started. Yes, you can. Because this time we're doing it right. No secrets, no cover-ups, no sacrificial lambs. I looked at Tyron. Just truth. Back at my house, I started dismantling my wall of surveillance screens. Each camera that came down felt like letting go of another grudge. Keep this one, Tyron said, pointing to the basement feed. There's something you need to see. We went next door. The basement smell hit me first, mildew and memories. But instead of the old cot, there was something else, a wall of photos. Me at graduation, news articles about my company, printouts of my interviews. Mom put these up after you left, Tyron said. She'd come down here when things got bad. Talk to your pictures like you could hear her. I touched a photo, me receiving my first tech award. She kept track of everything. We all did. Dad has Google alerts for your name. I watched every interview you gave. He smiled sadly. Guess we were all surveilling each other in our own ways. Footsteps on the stairs. Mom and Dad carrying boxes. We're converting it, Dad said. The basement. Into a proper room. No more cots. No more mildew. For who? For family meetings, Mom said. If you want, both of you. I looked at the wall of photos, at my brother's healing bruises, at our parents' hopeful faces, at all the pieces of our broken family, finally in the open where we could see them clearly. I have a better idea. The next day, construction crews arrived at both houses. Not to tear down, but to rebuild. To connect. A shared garden, I explained, showing them the plans. Between the properties. No more fences, no more surveillance. Just space to grow things together. And the Airbnb? Mom asked. We'll be legal this time, but not in my old room. I handed her the permit applications. We'll convert the garage. My room goes back to being just that, a room. For when I visit. You'd visit? If you'll have me. All of me. Not just the successful parts you put on the basement wall. Tyron picked up a shovel. Well, this garden won't build itself. We worked together, tearing down the fence that had divided our houses. Paisley showed up with her ring light. But this time we invited her to plant flowers instead of film drama. The internet had opinions, of course. From revenge to reconciliation. Family repairs more than just their house. Tech CEO trades surveillance for sunflowers, but we weren't doing it for them anymore. That evening, sitting in the half-finished garden, Dad asked, was it worth it? The revenge plan? I watched the sunset paint our houses in matching colors. Not the way I planned it, but maybe the way it turned out. Because it failed. Because it succeeded at something better. Tyron emerged from the basement carrying my old journals. Found these while cleaning. Thought you might want them. I took them, feeling their weight. All my old anger, my pain, my carefully documented grievances, and beneath them, the truth we'd all tried to hide, that love, even twisted into painful shapes, was still love. Actually, I said, I think they belong in the garden. I ripped out the pages, handed them around. Perfect mulch for new growth. We planted my past between the houses, covering old words with fresh soil. Mom's tears fell like rain. Dad's hand shook as he patted down earth. Tyron's bruises seemed to fade a little in the dying light. They always said I was too cold, too calculating. Funny. Cold things don't burn bridges. They bury them. Under gardens. Under truth. Under the hope that something beautiful can grow from the ashes of revenge. I looked at my family, dirt-stained and damaged, but finally real. Sometimes the best surveillance is simply watching each other heal.